This computer. Okay, so I'll be explaining how to do the GitHub Actions. So we ran here a GitHub Actions workflow on one branch of a ticket. And so we are right now looking at the GitHub, looking here in the Actions tab. So there in the Actions tab, yeah, you see the various runs. And we were here on this run, which is an update to Flint. Sorry, Samuel, I didn't hear you. I think you are muted. Did you mute yourself?
Please share your screen so we can see what you're talking about.
Ah, the shared screen. Yeah, okay, let's share the screen. Share this screen. Okay, here we go. Okay, yeah, so we'll be looking here at the GitHub Actions, and we see here the one run is on Ubuntu Trusty. And so if we click on it here in the left pane, then we see in the right pane various sections. So there's some that are not very interesting, but this one here is interesting. It has this long command line here. So this is the one that does all the building. So if we open this here, then we can see what's happening. Just go through it. So what does it do? Yeah, so it's this Docker-based workflow that we see here. So it's on a virtual machine. It's getting various packages from Ubuntu, and it's installing them. And so we scroll through. Sometimes, so all of this is done on slightly unreliably, operating computing platforms. So sometimes there's a network error, and then package installation goes wrong. And so you always see these kinds of sporadic errors in these workflow runs. Now, if this happens on the next run of this on the same platform, it will be good again. If it persists, sometimes there's something broken. Yeah. So for example, you probably have seen this. We need, for example, Python 3.7. And then some of the newest platforms, 3.7 is no longer packaged. And then some of this package installation will fail. And then we have to make adjustments. But most of the times, if something goes wrong here during package installation, it's really just there was some network error and something. And that's something that we don't want to hold against a particular ticket, right? So let's scroll down. This is all just boring things and boring package. Okay, so here it's starting with the bootstrap. Yeah, so this is all these tickets. They are run directly from a Git clone, right? And so there's no configure script in it. So it first needs to build the configure script, right? So that's what the bootstrap script does. Yeah, so it runs autoconf and so on to build configure script, and then next we run the configure line. So that's here. So configure runs through, and so here we see the configure output. And normally, so this is the first place where we can look. The first interesting things are happening. So at the end of configure, as you know, there's a summary of what packages are built. And when things go wrong, it's, for example, here where things might go wrong because somehow it doesn't find packages that we thought we had installed, and however, which are not available. Yeah. And so if you want to ask a question, you need to unmute yourself.
Sorry. What does make configure do?
Make configure, it tries to do bootstrap, but it's kind of like a hybrid because a real bootstrap needs auto tools. and that's not expected. Not all users are expected to have it. And so what it does first is it tries to do the bootstrap, but if you can't do it because you don't have auto tools on your computer, it will actually try to download a pre-packaged version of the configure script and some other files from the Sage mirrors. Yeah, and so this is something that only works for something that has been packaged as a release, because then Volker, the release manager, has packaged this configure tarball and has uploaded it to the mirrors. But when we are on a ticket that makes changes to anything auto tools related, changes to these as-packaged configure scripts and so on, then you need the current version. Yeah, so nobody has pre-packaged it yet. Yeah, and so
to run this bootstrap.
Right. Yeah.
And that requires automake, auto tools.
Yeah. Yeah. Both. Yeah. Auto tools is a common name for autoconf, automake, libtool, and maybe gettext. So.
Okay.
And so these are traditionally like developer-only tools. Yeah. So if one makes a tarball of a software package, then one basically pre-packages things. So you only need GNU make and the compiler, but you don't need autoconf. So autoconf is supposed to be, so that's traditionally how you set up things.
Okay. So in Debian, what is the name of that package? Is it automake, autoconf, autotools?
Well, we can look this up. So let's see. We can do cat build packages debian-bootstrap.txt, and that knows it. Yeah, so that's the nice thing. Yeah, so I don't have to remember this anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, so in build packages, you have these little text files that describe what system packages one needs. And so there's this special one that's always called like system-bootstrap that knows what packages you need extra for doing bootstrapping. Yeah, and so there's this one here. There's like minimal build prerequisites. It's in debian.txt. Yeah, and that tells you need bin, utils, make, m4, and so on. And in addition to that, if you want to do bootstrap, then you need what is listed here in the debian-bootstrap script. So that's these 5 ones here. Okay, making sense? I'll just continue. Yeah. So let's see. So here we were running on Ubuntu Trusty, which is a fairly old system, right? So one of the oldest ones that we support. And so here you see there are lots of packages that were missing. Yeah, I mean, so we know this is not a problem. Yeah, because Sage brings all these packages, but it informs us here. Yeah, so okay. Yeah, so Sage knows that on Debian-like distributions, these packages should be there. Yeah, but that's based on more modern systems, and so the older versions of the distribution, they are lacking either the packages completely or they just don't have new enough versions and so on. And so configure tells you about this thing. Yeah, so this is not alarming. Kind of we expect this. Yeah, so we ancient system. Yeah, Ubuntu Trusty, and so there are lots of packages missing. So if we compare this, for example, with one of the latest ones here, like Ubuntu Focal, then and we look at the same place in the configure, then you see. Let's scroll down. This is again package installation and package installation. So it's doing this and checking. And finally, it tells you what happened here. Yeah, and so there you see there's also some packages that it's talking about that apparently weren't installed, but it's a much shorter list. Yeah, and so we could look into what exactly happened here. Yeah, so how come that I didn't have cddlib, for example. It's a bit strange because
so I tried
yeah.
today on a Debian system,
Mm-hmm.
and it reported a bunch of packages as missing, even though they are actually there. It's Debian 10, so it's pretty, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
recent, but I don't know. Maybe in Debian you can choose between testing or experimental. I'm not sure
Mm-hmm.
what it's
Unstable, yeah. Testing unstable,
called.
yeah.
And then they don't have the same versions of everything. But maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
You
Same on Ubuntu. Yeah, I can go over here to Debian. Yeah, so I think Bullseye is current testing, and so if we look there, yeah. So for Debian and Ubuntu, we are using the same package lists. Yeah, so it's pretty much the same in terms of package names and so on. That's a good thing. So we're not making an attempt to have things more detailed. Yeah, so this would not be possible to maintain more detailed lists of all versions and all derivatives of Debian also. Yeah, so we are doing this kind of uniformly, and so we basically set it up that on the older Debian-like systems we make it. Basically, yeah. So when a package cannot be found, it just ignores that and it just continues installing the other ones, and so we get good coverage.
Okay. Maybe when it finds it, but it's not the right version, it could say that instead of saying you should install that, because then it's already installed and it's sort of.
Yeah. There are lots of things how one can make this smarter, but it's also this would be a huge time sink to make this smarter. Yeah, so I mean, somehow we are focused on getting the the technical part of the S package configure stuff right. Yeah, and basically putting this kind of cosmetics on top, that would be a huge additional effort. Yeah, so basically, include a full system report or something like this. Yeah, so it's
Okay.
yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, we have you wrote some tickets. Yeah, so detailing what you would like to do there, and hopefully we can get to it. But right now we have lots of more.
Yeah, I see there are still many
yeah.
configure.m4 tickets that are waiting to get done.
Yeah, lots of updates necessary. Yeah.
And
Yeah. So let's see. So yeah, so this one is like Debian Bullseye. So I think currently Debian testing, and so yeah. So there you also see there's a certain list. Yeah. So okay. So here's one thing that I'll explain. There are some packages like lib semigroups. Lib semigroups is actually it's a from the point of view of Sage is an optional package.
Yes.
Right. And so here. This build is called Debian Bullseye Standard, and that just means it will install all system packages that it knows about that correspond to standard Sage packages that have an S package configure script. So systematically, it will just not install optional packages. Right. Yeah. That's why, for example, lib semigroups appears here. Yeah, and so for example, so this little script that we have here at the end of configure, this will not distinguish this situation either, right? It's telling you, oh look, you don't have lib semigroups, but yeah, so you didn't actually request that package to be installed, right? So but yeah, I mean, so yeah, so that's what notice. That's what notice. Yeah. That's what notice means. Yeah, it's not an error. It's just it's just a little hint. Yeah. So what. And so I didn't have the time to make this more detailed and prettier and so on. yeah, so as far as I got this done. Okay, yeah, so that's configure, and so I'll just continue a little bit, yeah, on this one here. So the next step is that it builds stuff, yeah. So and then so you see I'm running here the make with option capital V equals 0. Yeah, so this is the mode in which make suppresses most of the output. And I always do that when I do parallel builds. I mean, otherwise you get this wall of error messages that are all interleaved and so on. And it's, I mean, so yeah, so I think it's a universal phenomenon. You know, people's, you know, something compiles this. Puts out all these messages and we stare at it. Yeah, so we are
I have
mesmerized
been
by
doing
it.
that for years, and finally, I don't know, a few months ago, I was reading the developer guide or the installation manual, and I found this make -s v equals 0, and now my life is better.
Yeah, it's really amazing. Yeah, so it happens to everyone. We see this scrolling and we watch. Yeah, we are mesmerized by this, and so yeah, if I found myself spending too much time on watching the screen, and so yeah. Anyway, so that's the mode how it's running this. So it's only 2 lines for every successful package. So one where it's starting and one where it's finishing. And so basically we can look through this, and yeah, this is all good, nothing happening, and yeah, so that's one way to look at things. Basically, look at this section after configure, look that there are no errors. Yeah, and so it will continue. I mean, it's a lot of text, yeah. So it would be nice to have, you know, more, you know, nicer summary and suppressing more information that's not needed. But that's it's so here it arrived at building SageLib, and then it's doing the tests. Yeah, so the tests are running with a normal verbosity. So it's yeah, 2 lines for every file, and so it's arriving. I'll just scroll down a little bit more, and so somewhere at the end, it's giving us the doc test summary. And so it's telling us there are 2 files in which doc tests failed. Yeah. And so this is now where we can scroll back again. Yeah, we can use the find function to look for this file, yeah, in this wall of text where the actual failures were. Yeah. But there's also several different places where we can look up the same information, and I'll show you that now. Yeah, so instead of this one here, there's also a little section here that we can open that's called print out logs for immediate inspection. Okay, and so I can open this one. And so the idea is that, so basically when we have the build of Sage and running the test suite, it's generating these log files. And when it's done with building, so whether successfully or with an error, these GitHub scripts here will actually scan the log files and then print out the ones that correspond to failing builds. Yeah, so basically it's telling you here, oh, okay, so here's my ptest.log. Yeah, so that corresponds to the failing SageLib test suite. Yeah, and it's printing it's in its entirety. And I'll show you another place where you can see about this. Yeah, I mean, okay, yeah, so these test failures, they are very common. Yeah, I mean, they're always like, you know, a handful of these things that are failing. Yeah, and so that's why I have only made this a warning, not an error. And I'll show you now a place where you can see these kinds of warnings in an overall summary. And so basically when you go here on the top left, there's this start page where we started from. So here it has artifacts. Let's just go to the bottom where it says annotations. And in these annotations, you can, all of these things that are flagged as warnings or errors, you can see them here in yellow and red. And that's now a summary over all the builds. Yeah, so that's So we were just looking at the Debian Debian bullseye, I guess. Yeah. So
Yes, bullseye standard.
Debian bullseye standard. Yeah. And so you see here there are some of these messages that correspond to the bullseye standard that are repeated here. Yeah. So there's the configure notice about not finding equivalent system packages. That's repeated here. Yeah, so basically on a quick look, we can see that this looks reasonable, that there was no important packages missed. Yeah, so we see here Python 3.0.0, yeah, but this is exactly because we no longer have Python 3.7. Yeah, but so bullseye is too new, so there's no Python 3.7 anymore.
Okay.
Yeah. And so then the other ones that correspond to optional packages, yeah, so Ninja build is just a build prerequisite for Polymake, that it's an optional package. And so libstemma group's optional package, yeah, so we don't care. But there's some that, one could look at anyway. So this is where it's summarized. Yeah, and then what we just saw here is in the second one, yeah, the test suite failure with the p-test, yeah, that's repeated here. So that's basically in these annotations, you have a quick overview of relevant things that happened. It would be nice if you could click on here somewhere and get to the relevant place, but unfortunately it doesn't lead us to anywhere useful. So we have to go back here to where we came from on the side here on this panel. Somewhere there was the Debian bullseye standard. Click again here. Yeah, so again, everything is collapsed. And so we look again at printout logs for immediate inspection. And so we can scroll down, we can look for the errors. If you remembered what files the failures were in, we could search for it, but I don't remember. So somehow we find it, yeah, by visual inspection.
You can search for star, maybe, or something like that.
Does it say star? Yeah. Okay.
When there are errors, you get kind of a row of stars.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So here is the summary. I can search for complex ARB. Complex ARB. And so there we go. Yeah. So there we see something here. It looks like numerical noise. Yeah. So something.
Yes. And so you see, there's a line of stars surrounding the failure.
Yeah. Excellent. Very good. Yeah, that's a good trick. Yeah. Okay. One should look for star. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And so that's what we can look at, and so that's one thing that happened. But further down here in this section, there's more. There's another. There's another file here. So again, this one here is flagged as an error. Turns out this one shouldn't actually be an error. Okay, so this one is just a test suite failure for package network X, and this is something that will hopefully be fixed when we have this big NumPy SciPy network X update in. What happened here is that because of some new packages that we have now, we have a PyTest. Suddenly we are running the test suite of network X, which we didn't used to be running. And so now we are seeing these test suite failures. So network X doesn't pass its own test suite. Yeah, so it's not a big deal. It's just something we didn't run it before. And so now we run it. Actually, somewhere in here, probably going to be merged soon, or has been already, is actually changes that don't test network X anymore exactly because of that, or that make the warning or something like this. So just something to be aware of. So there's someone is working on it already. Don't worry about this. And so we can scroll down. Let's see what else is there. Yeah, well, that was all network X. Yeah, so basically two things that happened here on this Debian Bullseye standard. Handful of SageLib test suite failures, and then the network X thing, which is really, it's just a failure in the tests and not in the build. But unfortunately, because all of this is basically based on scanning text for patterns, how I distinguish real errors from failures like this, and so sometimes it's misclassified. Yeah, so there are lots of things that could be improved in this system, but yeah, so that's how far we got. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but basically with a little bit of practice, one can review such a system here in I don't know, in 1-2 minutes or so. Yeah, and then let's see what's happening. Okay, let's look at something else. Yeah, so maybe let's look at, so here's a something that's flagged as an error, Docker Fedora 32 standard. So let's maybe see what happened here. And so what you see here is so there's a stop sign here on the main operation. And what happened here is something exceeded the 6 hours of computation time. Yeah, so 6 hours time budget on the virtual machine. Somehow we're doing too much. Yeah, so and that's really all. Yeah, so we can scroll to the bottom and see what happened here. Yeah, so it's a little bit slow, this whole web-based thing here. Yeah, so it's already in running the p-test, but then it's canceled. Okay. Because the 6 hours were exceeded. Yeah, so basically it was a successful run, but we are somehow all of the longer runs are like 5-6 hours. Yeah, and so sometimes if it's took a little bit too long, then it's going to time out. Yeah, so basically it's a successful run.
I see.
Yeah, and so what happened here is on these new systems, Fedora 32, it has to build its own Python because the system Python is too new, and so that takes more time than usual. Okay. And so that's why we are timing out here. So that's.
So it would be nice if Sage could like support a wider range of Python versions, like
that's right. That's right.
Up to 3.9 or something like that.
Yeah, 3.9. Yeah, that's not gonna happen so soon. We are so we have the 3.8. So Antonio Rojas has been working on it, and I have been working on it, and John Palmieri. You know, but it's there's still a lot of work to be done. So I don't think we'll have that ready. So we can build with 3.6, which helps for some of the older systems. So that's new in the 9.2 betas. But 3.8 it's not ready yet. So we are still rejecting all of these ones. So. So let's see. So maybe CentOS 8 standard is also marked red. So what happened here? So here we see, yeah. So this one, it's in 3 hours 26 minutes, some failure, and so we can either look here what happened, or we can look directly in the logs. Okay, the logs are not telling me anything. Yeah. So so that's weird. So let's open here and scroll to the bottom and see what happened here. Okay.
Which one is that?
Process completed with execute 137. That's not a good sign. So let's see what happened here. So there are various successful builds of packages. So scroll up, scroll up, scroll up. And so all of this is sometimes done in several stages. So there's another make invocation further up. Pinak up.
Oh, still on Fedora? No.
Didn't see an error so far.
Is this still Fedora?
No, yeah, no. This one is CentOS 8.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, and so okay, let's see if we see somewhere here error. Oh, yeah, no idea what happened here. So this one is weird. Yeah, so who knows? Yeah, so perhaps this build was cancelled. Yeah, because somehow the host died. Yeah,
Okay.
so this is all on. Yeah, it's kind of like on. Kind of. It's yeah. I mean, it's running on free compute. Yeah, so sometimes these things are just cancelled.
Okay.
And however, we can take a look at what happens after such a build finished. Yeah, so it's copying out the logs, and it's going to upload the logs. Yeah, so it is talking about here. Yeah, and so this gives us a way to actually look, take a closer look, even if I see nothing here. Yeah, so this print out logs, it didn't find any error, right? And so sometimes we're stuck like this, but now I can show you what can be done here. So it's uploading stuff to also there, and that's available here. But this is not a very good interface because these names are too long and they're always truncated. So a better place to find it is again on this overview page, Sage root here. And so again, let's look for the, so this was the CentOS 8 standard. Yeah, and so you see there's always, an archive. You can download this. In this case, this is small, but it can be a couple dozen megabytes or larger. So let me just download this one and unzip it. Where is it? And ended up on my other screen. And let's see, where did this go? CentOS 8 standard. Yeah, and then let's see. Am I sharing this screen?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and so there you can see in logs packages. Yeah, this didn't work as advertised. Sorry. So for some reason it didn't manage to. Yeah, for some reason it didn't manage to download all the logs. There's only the config log that you have here, at least something. So that is probably a sign that something. So somehow the container was killed or something like this. That it didn't even manage to download the logs from the build container. Yeah, so it probably has nothing to do with the ticket. It's some random stuff. Yeah, so too bad. Okay, so let's look at another one. Maybe look at some homebrew. So this one here, homebrew Mac OS standard. And so let's see what happened here. Yeah, there's another thing. So you can't even click this one open. Yeah, so there was some sporadic problem here with the virtual machine. Yeah, so can't draw any conclusions here. If basically there's no good run, it happens. Yeah, so it happens more often on Mac than on Linux because I don't know. They have fewer virtual machines available of that type. So let's take a look at this one here, maybe. macOS standard. Yeah, so this one is another one that timed out. So it's like a 6-hour build here again. So let's take a look at what happened before it timed out. And you can scroll down. Yeah, and so we see it's essentially a successful build. It's already in the middle of the doc tests, and then it was just timing out. So yeah, okay. There's a few things. There's something that I see very often. It's the Sage manifold stuff that runs some very ambitious doc tests, and they often time out. There are probably there's some that should be marked long, probably, and so I often see these types of things here coming from Sage manifold tests. And anyway, so yeah, so the whole thing just ran into, again, the 6-hour time limit. Don't really have a good solution for this one, except for accepting more system packages. Yeah, so that we don't have to build so much. And yeah, so the weird thing is, yeah, so this one is the standard build. Yeah, somehow ran out with 6 hours. Here I have a minimal build, otherwise same configuration. This one succeeded in 5 hours. Minimal build means that I didn't install so many system packages. Yeah, so basically only what is the minimum for the installation of Sage to succeed. And that should normally take longer. Yeah, so one wouldn't expect that. Yeah, I mean, so in the standard build, it just downloads the packages and then configures against them, but somehow here it's inverted. And so I attribute this to random unreliability business on the compute server there. So yeah, and so yeah, macOS minimal ran in 5 hours. Yeah, and so let's look at the logs for this one here. Yeah, so reports here on test suite failure in SageLib. Let's scroll down. Yeah, so again, there we see some, this one is was like dynamical system business, timing out. Okay, let's scroll down. Yeah, so this GitHub interface is sometimes a little bit annoying. It's a little bit sluggish here. So if at some point you get tired of it, you can just download these tarballs, and then you can open the log files in the on your computer. Yeah, so that's better solution sometimes. Okay, so let's see. Scroll up again. So okay, so we have this one here. Somewhere must be the end of the doc tests. Yeah, why don't we download this one? Yeah, this, which one was this? This was Homebrew macOS. Okay, which flavor? Homebrew macOS Python 3 Xcode minimal. So let's see. Remember this one. And so let's look at the corresponding. So Python 3 Xcode minimal. Yeah, this one here, I think. So and we see this is a huge one. This is 300 megabytes of logs. So something happened here. So let's download it. Let's see how fast I can do this. Yeah, in fact, so this what this does is it doesn't only package the logs, but in fact, if there was a failed build of a package, it's also packaging up the build directory. So one can also look at the package's current build status. Yeah, so this is what you normally have in the local var temp during a build. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so unpack this one, and so where do we have it? That is log. And so what have we got here? So Okay, yeah. So there's let's look into packages. This has all of these build logs for the various packages, and so let's first look into install log to see the overview of what happened here. And yeah, I can open this bigger, I guess. So let's see. No, there was no error. Well, this looks all good. Lots of messages successfully installed. Yeah. Oh, successfully installed. Okay. Looks fine to me. Doc HTML looks fine. And Sage starts. Yeah, what happened here? Okay, so let's take a look. Ptest log is this one here. Yeah, I see a few timeouts, a few other like plot timeouts. Yeah, there's a failure in the gap interface. Might want to look at this one. Gap. Yeah, here. Yeah, there's one of these cryptic failures. Yeah, I can try to reproduce locally or not. Yeah, and what else have we got here? Yeah, lots of timeouts. Then here, what's this one? Yes, sets recursively enumerated set. That one looks suspicious. Yeah, so I touched this file recently, so I hope I didn't break anything.
Is map reduced?
Let's see. Yeah, it's this kind of this tree search kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's something going on here with.
There's the blank line. Maybe it's just the blank line.
Yeah, no, there's expected alarm interrupt. I think there's just some very non-robust tests. So somehow it's trying to test that something can be interrupted by an alarm interrupt, but somehow the computation was too fast, and so someone needs to adjust not so robust doc test here. So I guess yeah. Also that's that. And yeah, so that's makes sense. Yeah, so let's see. Why were we looking at this one? We were looking at this one because I thought. So, let's see. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So that's how to inspect these things. There are a few systems here that we know always fail, and somehow I kept them in as to remind us that some work needs doing. There are some of these 32-bit builds. Yeah, so the i386 builds, they are always very slow. And they're always timeout. And also the Conda Forge Ubuntu, this never works. Basically, we were happy to get the Conda Forge to work on Mac, but on And also even on Mac, Conda Forge minimal always fails because somehow it's not able to build the Python of Sage. So it's a bit of a weird and useless configuration. So that's something else to be aware of. There are some of these platforms that don't actually work. Yeah. So yeah, and so basically a way to check whether what has changed from the last beta is just to look at the build of the last beta. Yeah. So if you just go to the SageMath to the GitHub SageMath Sage one, this is running the actions for every release, actually. Yeah, and so there you can take a look. So here's the 9.2 beta 6 ran here, and so here this is the normal tox run. Yeah, so it's here you can see what happened here. So also there you see there were lots of these failures for these kind of aspirational platforms, like so the 32-bit platforms here, and the Conda Forge minimal, and local Ubuntu Conda Forge. These ones don't really work. I hope we can get them working at some point. But yeah, so that's basically that's a way to do it. Yeah, so to check on the last beta so you get a feeling of what should work, and what additional specific failures are found on the on those upgrade tickets and so on.
I see.
Yeah, and so another nice thing is actually on these runs, one can so there are also corresponding packages. Yeah, so basically so it creates Docker images that you can download and run on your computer. So basically, so it's not for the macOS ones because they don't run in Docker, but so for example, if we want to look at what happened in this Arch Linux one here, okay. Oh, this one didn't work. Okay, you see, there's a little section down here that says push Docker images, and so let's bring one up that did work. So here, push Docker images. So it's actually telling you, you can. So it creates pushes the Docker image to GitHub, and so I can just take this guy here. So here it says, so this one is the name. Actually, this is the full qualified name of this image. So this is now something that I can just run on my computer. So I can do docker run -it, and then this one here, bash, and then it will download this image from the server, probably several gigabytes, and then I get to get a shell in that thing that it built. And so then I can start looking at, so then one can look at the logs. Okay, you have them already, but also any failed packages that happened there. One can look at the build. Yeah, but super helpful is already basically going through these runs here and basically making sense of, because it's a lot of information there. Yeah, and when we are running these, yeah. So I mean, so traditionally, yeah. So ticket reviewers would go about and run, compile a ticket on their computer, right, and then check that everything worked, right. So with this system, basically replicating the build has already been done, yeah, and so it's basically reviewing a ticket. So part of the task could be to just inspect some of those build logs and to see particular failures, yeah, and so that's already very helpful review work.
Mm-hmm. Nice, very nice.
I'll stop the recording.
Okay.
Let's see. Stop share, stop record, stop. Oh my, I need to practice this before I start teaching in fall.